Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video, and this video is this is the match preview of the first preliminary final of in the AFL final series between Sydney and Port Adelaide. This is going to be a great match, great matchup, obviously. So first the preliminary finals. As I said, it's gonna be great. Gonna be a great weekend. Obviously to see who is going to be through to the big dance next week. The 2024 AFL Grand Final. Will it be an all non-Victorian affair? Will we have Geelong as the only Victorian representative? Who knows? But anyways, so let's just get straight into it, shall we? So the roadmap that both teams got here, simply for Sydney, is this: they were 28 points down against GWS, and in the final quarter, I've said this a lot of times. I'm going to say it. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. If there's any team that was about 5 goals down at some stage in a quarter, that if there's any team I would confidently back and say they would kick 5 or 6 goals within quick succession, it was Sydney. And in the last quarter in that game, they did that, and it was enough for them to sneak home by a kick. And book a home preliminary final, I presume, in front of another 40,000 people. Speaking of winning by a kick, that's exactly the same thing that what Port Adelaide did last week against Hawthorn. Now, obviously, Port Adelaide off the back of that embarrassing performance in the first week against Geelong, being spanked on their home turf. They needed to respond, really, and they pretty much did. And not without a fight back, not without a stern resistance and fight back from a very gallant Hawthorn side. If James Sicily's kick with about a minute and a half to go was maybe an inch, maybe an inch and a half, maybe 2.5 inches to the right, then we would see a totally different result here. But unfortunately hit the post, and we all know how it ended pretty much. So that has been, that has been the roadmap for both teams throughout the course of this final series so far. And the one stat, obviously, which benefits a lot for Port Adelaide fans, but not for Sydney fans, is that Port Adelaide have won their last 6 games against the Swans, which is dating back to 2017. So that's about 6 years, or should I say now 7 years? And we'll get to that in a bit, or get to that in a bit. But the thing is, though, they play at the SCG. They've only played since 2018. Port Adelaide's only played there once, which I think they won that game. I believe, obviously. What happened last time these two teams met? They only met about 6 weeks ago, and it was an absolute shellacking. But not to the team that you expected. Because by this stage, I mean, Port Adelaide were... I think they were close to the top 4, but not... I think they were around about 4th or 5th by this stage. And, of course, Sydney were a game or 2 games clear on top. But Sydney were in a lean patch of form back to this day. And it just... And, of course... Port Adelaide this day stormed out to Sydney gave a 45-point head start, or actually yeah, and it ended up being an absolute, as I said, an absolute shellacking to the tune of 112 points, which was absolutely unbelievable, really, from a Sydney and to be held to only 5 goals as well was a big shock. Was a massive shock to all us in the us known in the AFL world. So yeah, and yeah. So could it be a full 7 years with this streak for Port Adelaide again over Sydney, or will that streak finally be broken? We don't know. We kind of don't know really about that on that front. To statistics here. So firstly for Sydney, they are the number one. They are as I'm reading here on AFL.com.au. They are the number one ranked team in the AFL right now at stopping the opposition from moving the ball from the D50 to their forward 50. Because I think from the opposite way, from scoring from moving from the D50 to their forward 50, I think they're number one in that, or top 4, top 2, or top 3 in that too. So yeah. So not only they're good at defending these type of players, they go from D50 to 450 just like that. They can also go the other way as well. So yeah. Port Adelaide has targeted the corridor from its defensive 50 more often this season. Yada yada. With the likes of Houston and Farrell out, I know that. Yeah. So that could be the big focus here, statistically, to see see how Port Adelaide's ball movement can do against Sydney's defence. We'll figure that out there. For Port Adelaide wise, despite the beating against Sydney, against Geelong, a couple of weeks ago, it says here, since round 16, which includes obviously the 138 points they conceded in the qualifying final. They have conceded on average 70 points per game, which is number 2 in the AFL over that period between round 16 and now. So yeah, and they even kept Hawthorn to their second lowest score since round 9. So defenses are going to be the two defenses here are going to be key here. Both of them, obviously, the Sydney's defense in the qualifying final against the Giants were a bit average. Let's put it that way. It was a bit average for most of that game, and then same too for Port Adelaide's against Geelong in the qualifying final as well. But then but their defense sort of got a little bit better when they versed the Hawks in the semi-final. So yeah, and it says here obviously Sydney are of course the number one scoring team in the competition, averaging 98 points per game, which is incredible, really. And it's also and that's also thanks to their ability to score both from turnover and from clearance, which is scores from turnover. Sydney are ranked number 1, not surprisingly, and scores from clearance. Sydney are ranked number 2. So that is going to be a big task there for Sydney. What I'm going to put the spotlight on, I'm going to put this on both teams. I'm going to put on both teams' defenses here because obviously, yes, Port Adelaide's defence was a little bit better last week against Hawthorn, but in both the qualifying finals, both defences were a little, as I said, were in terms of Sydney's, were a bit average, and Port Adelaide's defence was terrible. So I think for me, whoever gets on top in the defensive half of the ground, I think will go a long way to winning this game, pretty much. And any player, and the player I'll give a spotlight on, for who's playing his 200th game tonight, obviously, is one Sir Isaac Heaney. Obviously, one of the best games I believe I've ever seen him play in the qualifying final. I mean, he single-handedly got him over the line in that game. He got 30 touches, 3 goals, like 7 clearances, that sort of stuff, including an absolute hanger on Jake Buckley, which I still think mark and goal of the year should count towards one, or have a separate finals mark and goal of the year award. Surely you should have that, because the goal that Jeremy Cameron kicked in the first week of the finals and the mark that Heaney took in the first week of the finals was definitely going to be mark and goals of the year. Which by the way, I still can't believe that Jack Higgins' goal against Collingwood didn't get a nomination for actual goal of the year. So that is a bit, yeah. But anyway, but that's a topic for another day. So in terms of that, in terms of both teams, I believe defensive half of the ground will probably, whoever's king in defense will go a long way to winning this game. And also Isaac Heaney, can he back up? He back up his qualifying final performance in front of a packed crowd at the SCG. Who knows? Maybe he can, but yeah. But anyways, with that, predictions. So actually, no. Before I get to the predictions, lineups here. So one change for Sydney with Robbie Fox coming in replacement of Cal Mills, who did his hamstring a couple of weeks ago, in a week or so ago in training. We still don't know if he could be fit for the grand final if Sydney make it. We don't know about that yet, but yeah. And of course, Rampy playing game 250 tonight, and also said Heaney plays his 200th. Two changes for Port Adelaide. Charlie Dixon and Ryan Burton come in. Todd Marshall and Will Lorenz out for this game. So firstly, I'll go to the Sydney lineup here. So in the fullback line, you got Dane Rampy, Tom McCartan, and Nick the Lizard Blakey. In the halfback line, you got Matt Roberts, Harry Cunningham, and Lewis Melican. In the centre, you got Jake Lloyd and Oliver Florent on the wings with Chad Warner in the centre. On the half forward line, you got Luke Parker, Logan McDonald, and Errol Gulden, I should say. And at the full forward line, you got Tom, the pumped up Papley. I can't wait to see him when he kicks it going, as he be pumped up and all that sort of stuff. Joe Marty and Will Hayward. In the followers, you got Brody Grundy in the ruck. Isaac and the two on ballers, you got Isaac Heaney and James Rowbottom. In the interchange, currently we don't know still at this moment, at the time of recording this, who is the sub. But yeah, and I'll guess my subs in a minute. Of course, James Jordan, Brandon Campbell, Robbie Fox obviously being in for Cal Mills, Justin McInerney and Hayden McLean. So the lineup for Port Adelaide from the fullback line, you got Lockie Jones, Brandon Zerk-Thatcher, and Miles Bergman. On the halfback line, you got Josh Singh, Aaliyah, and Logan Evans. In the centre, you got Jace Burgoyne and Willem Drew on the wings, with Ollie Wines in the centre. On the half forward line, you got Darcy Byrne-Jones, Asava Ratagalia, and Willie Rioli. And then the full forward line, you got Mitch Georgiades, Big Charlie Dixon, and Connor Rosie. There. And the followers, you got Jordan Sweet in the ruck, and the two on ballers are Jason Horne-Francis and Zach Butters. On the interchange bench, you got Travis Boak, Quinton Narkle, Jackson Mead, Francis Evans, and Ryan Burton. And my guess for the two subs, I would guess for Sydney it'll be Braden Campbell, and then for Port Adelaide, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Quinton Narkle, to be honest, or it might be someone like Jackson Mead or Francis Evans, but they play but Francis, I don't think it'll be Francis Evans because he played decently well last week as well. So it might be Quinton Narkle that might be on there, or it might be Ryan Burton because I think he's just recovered from injury. If they're willing to protect him from further injury, and that maybe they do that as well. So now we get to the predictions. Oh, this one's going to be a tough one. This one's going to be a tough one. This one's going to be a tough one. But at the end of the day, I think Sydney. I think the firepower of Sydney's weapons in the middle, with the likes of Heaney, Warner, at times Goulden, and all that. I think there would be a bit too much. I think Goulden had a bit of a quiet game as well in the qualifying final against the Giants. I think he might, and also maybe the week off might be better off for Sydney anyway. So it might be better for Sydney anyway. So I should say, but I think for me, I think it's definite that I think for me that I think Sydney, in front of their home crowd, I think things are going to be different this time around. Instead of that 112-point shellacking that they copped at the hands of the Power over at Adelaide Oval, I think now they're on their home territory. I think that might be different, that sort of speak, if you know what I mean about that. But yeah, so I think Sydney. I think. Yeah, you know what? I think Sydney. I think it'll be a tight one. I think Sydney by 3 points. I think Sydney by 3 points, and I believe. Who do I think? And in my bold prediction, I think Heaney. I think he'll get 30 touches and 3 goals again. I think just to solidify him as Mr. September in 2024. I think for me with Heaney, and he probably could have been the Brownlow medalist if he didn't get suspended for the most stupidest reason. But anyways, but yeah. So my prediction is I think Sydney by 3 points. And Heaney to get 30 plus and kick 3 goals. So hopefully he does do that. But that's just about it really for this video. So like this video, share this to anybody who's a Sydney Swans supporter or a Port Adelaide fan. Comment down below what are your predictions on this game. Who you predict to win, and who do you think? And what is your bold prediction? Or if you're watching this after the game, just list your predictions anyway, and tell me, and also comment if you got it right, you got it wrong, just anything really on that front. And And one last thing, somewhere down there, somewhere, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. It really does help me out quite a bit as we near the very business end of this footy season. But until next time, guys, I'll see you all later.